Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Here we go. We'll start off with what I've written. Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, isn't afternoon anymore, so let's start with good evening. Hang on, good evening, everybody. It's come to this part of the wedding procedure which Emma, my daughter, was slightly fearful of, as was I must admit, because she's worried about what I might say. And as I've repeatedly said to her, don't worry, because I have no idea what I'm about to say, and I'll be as surprised as you are. Now, after copious amounts of research on Google, I've come up with this, that the father of the bride speech, according to Google, is the warm-up act for the best man speech. So, and with that, apparently I'm supposed to say a few thank yous to people. So here we go. Firstly, everybody here, thank you very much for coming and seeing my lovely daughter and beautiful daughter get married to her husband Daniel. Don't worry, Daniel, you're still lovely. And beautiful, yeah. Especially in your shorts in the morning. If you haven't seen him, oh, you've missed out. Whilst I'm thanking all of you, I'd like to do some other thank yous as well. To MC Billy over there. For his bell ringing and shouting. I don't know which order he likes it in, but... It's not scripted either. Also for Denise and her cake making, and apparently walking on stage in large shoes. It seems to be that the feedback was, well done, so well done. Special thanks to all the staff for doing the catering, bar and so on, and don't forget free drinks from me later on. I'll need them. And so thank you all for that. Now I'd also like to say a little special thank you to both these two at the front here. The efforts they've gone to making this a special day, not only for themselves but for everybody, I think is fantastic. You go in there, the first time I saw it, it was absolutely awesome, so well done you two. Just one thing I wanted to add to this, that my script writer over there, who's read what I've put and corrected the spelling most of the time. In fact, corrected the English, let's be honest. Doesn't know about this part. I left it out, but I've added it in. There are a couple of people that can't be with us today, but I think would have been proud to have seen their granddaughter. That is Denise's dad, Stan, and my dad, David. So unfortunately, they're not with us, but I'm sure they would have loved to have seen this. So that's the sad bit out of the way. When I was a child, Heckle, come on.
Still are.
No, thank you. You plan this stuff and they let you down. That was a fiver wasted. That really was a fiver wasted. I put myself off. When I grew up, I used to take... my parents didn't take a lot of photographs of me. And the one thing I wanted to do was make sure I filmed my children and photographed them as much as I physically could. I'm tickled by my There's a lot of stairs. So I've taken a lot of pictures of Emma growing up through the years. Now today there was supposed to be a PowerPoint presentation of photographs from Emma. So here they are now. No, they're not. I haven't been allowed to show you those, unfortunately. I can't show you the photograph of Emma, probably 12 months or so, maybe a bit younger, face down in her spaghetti. I really couldn't show you that. Couldn't show you that one. I can't show you the one when she was about 3, taking her first Guinness with the Guinness moustache all around there. I'm not allowed to show you those ones. But enough said. I'm not going to concentrate on Emma as a child yet. Apart from the fact that when she was younger, the word cardigan she couldn't say, which was said.
Cardigan.
Cardigan.
Still is. Still is called cardigan.
Apart from also going into the kitchen and watching, what was it?
Home and Away.
Home and Away and doing this. Spinning around like a top. And also, if we were out in a car, driving around, and you got that lovely waft of fresh manure.
Did you hear?
And Heckle, come on.
Say it again,
Heckle.
Mum. What's that fell?
What's that fell? Because she obviously had a bit of a lisp then. Very endearing. Smell, yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to go on to, I'm not going to harbour on those. She's grown up as a beautiful, intellectual, caring woman, and I'm very proud of her and her achievements. Daniel, in the short period, yeah, you don't get off either. In the short period I've known you, I can honestly say you're very comfortable to be with. You'll talk to anybody about anything. Join the club. Your musical knowledge is very impressive, and when we're out in a group, you really know how to enjoy yourself. A prime example of Daniel enjoying himself was the Madness concert, where we sat and watched Daniel stick on Emma's hat and dance in the aisles, and we sat there and went, what's he taken? So he really knows how to enjoy himself and be comfortable in his own skin, and I admire you for that. That's excellent. Now, anyone who knows these two knows how well suited they are. Intellectually, they're on a par to one another. They take part in quizzes and win them. They like watching University Challenge and know the answers. Now, what I've learned with University Challenge is you just shout Holbein at any of the pictures and sooner or later you're right. And I'm like, yes, got one. So Holbein is my stock answer. What else have I got here?
Only Connect.
Thank you, Heckler. They even understand Only Connect. Enough of the brainy stuff, let's look at the personality side of things. Emma's going to hate me for this one. Emma is into Disney and kittens. Daniel is into Star Wars, which oddly enough is owned by Disney. And kittens! What a match! Who would have known? They also go to the theatre. They like going to the cinema. They're both foodies and like cooking and eating out. When it comes to food, there's obviously drink. One of them is a copious drinker. She's a good drinker, she is. Where was I? And as you can see by the tables, there was a lot of thought and effort that went into that, and an awful lot of drinking. Especially to get those bottles. But the other fact that I like about them is that they're individuals. They go off and do their own things. Daniel will go off to watch films about one-legged footballers called Terry, or a Star Wars film. And Emma does her singing with Inquiries. You like obscure stuff? I think that's weird.
Don't feel like one
I researched it, don't worry. I researched it. They're both keen travellers as well. They don't sit on the beach like I do, looking like a beach whale. They actually travel around and see things. So for these two travellers, we're about to embark on life's rich and sometimes turbulent, but always loving journey. Please be upstanding and raise a glass to the bride and groom. Bride and groom.
Bride and groom.
Let's give Craig a round of applause. Thank you, Craig.
Okay. Can I welcome onto the stage the new Mr. and Mrs. Marchese Fry?
Hello. Right. I think you're first, aren't you? Hang on.
I'll get the wheelie one.
We've got a prop.
I bloody deserve this.
So traditionally, this is the part where it's the group speech. So here I am. And Dan and I sat down. We had a few words about what we were going to discuss now, and as you all know us, we don't really talk a lot. So we weren't really sure how to find the words. So, but we jotted things down. So.
First one. Firstly, we obviously want to say, as Craig's just said, a really heartfelt thank you to everyone for coming. Both of us really appreciate the efforts that many of you have made to travel with us today, to visit us today, particularly this time of year. There's a lot of teachers, and they only get 6 weeks of summer holiday. So our wedding happened to be smack bang in the middle of August, so we really appreciate your efforts there, the education community. We hope we put on a really decent performance today. So firstly, drink, you need to drink. A toast to all of you, our wonderful friends and family. Friends and family, to you all. So I'm firstly going to say a few thank yous to Craig and to Denise. So thank you, Craig, for everything you've done for us in life and for the wedding, including a seriously intense amount of bottle cutting. All of those half bottles you saw in every part of this venue were cut by hand and filed and sanded and made at the forge of Fry, it's really, really impressive. Also, as you acknowledged just then, Emma was initially a little bit worried about how your speech was going to go just now, and I think she was assuming she might die from embarrassment, but you did a really fantastic job just then, and what an excellent introduction to you as my father-in-law. Thank you very much. Thank you also to Denise, an absolutely perfect mother-in-law, a doting mother to my bride Emma. Over the 5 years Emma and I have been together, you've been so supportive. I remember just after I'd taken the plunge and bought Emma her engagement ring, I was pretty nervous, so I was having a quick pint while they resized the ring, just to calm the nerves. And I called Denise and Craig, spoke to Denise, and just to check in that it was all okay, that I was doing the right thing. And I was so reassured and so moved, actually, when she just immediately went, "Yep, absolutely, definitely, yep, definitely, please, yeah, great." And you, Denise, I think you have been our biggest champion, and I love you for it. I'm really looking forward to eating delicious cakes you made this evening, and so thank you so much to Denise. So to Craig and Denise.
Then now comes to me to say thank you to Jane and to Tony. Where are they? There you are, behind. Hello. So thank you first of all to Jane for welcoming into the family with open arms. When I first met the parents for dinner in the Jewellery Quarter in 2014, I was really, really nervous. I probably spent about as much time picking out my outfit for that meeting as I did picking out my wedding dress.
It's good you didn't wear the same, because that would be...
However, I was made to feel completely at ease, and as they're both really lovely. I know that Jane's not necessarily into all the kind of like trappings of conventional weddings and marriage, and I'm sure that with time you'll adjust to being called the mother-in-law. Oh, I've lost my place. I'm shaking. Oh, there we go. Also, Thank you, Jane, for benevolently letting us borrow your birthday weekend for our wedding. At least you'll never forget our anniversary. Yesterday. So yes, happy birthday for yesterday. And thank you to Tony for all of your support. I particularly enjoyed bonding with you over choral singing and cooking. In 2017, I had my first Christmas away from home, and I helped out in the kitchen, making the bread sauce, Delia's recipe, naturally. I only latterly found out that the kitchen is strictly Tony's domain. And despite Daniel's vehement protestations, no one else is allowed to take part in the cooking in the house, particularly at Christmas. So thank you for the privilege and the seal of approval for letting me in your kitchen. And thank you also to Tony and for Jane for providing us with a magnificent cheesecake from Tavistock, Country Cheeses in Tavistock. And as they say, blessed are the cheesemakers. So to Jane and Tony.
I've got some thanks now for some of the men in the grey suits. So first of all, many thanks go to Andy Thompson, a man I have known since primary school when he had really cute curls. I mean, look at it now. And I've loved him since about 2005. This is a man who, a little bit later, this is a man who, when we were teenagers and going out for an evening out in the town, my mum would say, who are you out with? Andy Thompson? All right, see you at 5 in the morning then. So fittingly, as Andy's kind of character as a party animal, he project managed a wonderfully debauched, appropriately Shakespearean stag do in Edinburgh, and has given me some really excellent wedding-related advice, including being the perfect advisor on my proposal to Emma in Prague a number of years ago. So thank you. Thank you to my second of 3 best men, another best man, Paul, who's there? Who's there? Hello, Paul. Who's right weirdo sometimes, but sometimes someone I have been pleased to call my best friend for the best part of 25 or 26 years, I think, a lifetime. I'm sure you'll agree. Paul today showed off his Shakespearean acting chops wonderfully. In the ceremony, even if his performance was a little rough. It's a song. He also managed today. He had 2 jobs today, and he did both of them well. He managed to be a really good ring bearer as any Baggins in the Shire. So excellent work there, precious. And finally, thank you to my last best man, Richard. Where is he? Oh, hello. Hi. Okay. My brother from presumably the same mother, Richard. Richard when he's being posh, but Ricky to the rest of us. I genuinely couldn't ask for a kinder, more loyal, more decent brother who cares about me and wants the best for me. Loves both me and Emma unconditionally. I am, of course, saying all the nice stuff about him before he takes to the mic. To speak uninterrupted in front of our close friends, family, esteemed colleagues. So I'm reserving the right now to withdraw any of those nice comments in about 15 minutes' time. So thank you.
So now I'd like to talk about my ladies. Where are my ladies? Alice, first of all. This is not very long. I'm going to move this way. So, thank you to Alice, my bridesmaid and university friend. You know you've got a friend for life when they are willing to traipse around in a nice frock, on their feet all day when they're very much pregnant, and probably should be enjoying a good tea and a sit down, really. So, thank you so much. I've never known somebody so thoroughly enthusiastic about a wedding that wasn't their own. And your advice and your guidance have been very much needed and very welcomed. I'm even wearing the hair slide that Alice wore at her own wedding. And it's little touches like this that just show what a lovely person Alice is. And I love you for it. So thanks, Alice. secondly, thank you to my bridesmaid and long-suffering friend Elise, who who I have had to keep as a close friend, as she knows all of my secrets after we shared a bath together at age 11, which is far too old to share a bath together, I think.
Why would you mention it?
Keep the secrets. We've shared many a boozy lunch together, including mostly when we should have been in our A-level French lessons. And we often discussed men. And I'm sorry to disappoint that I haven't married somebody called Rupert, but as was expected of me. But I'm sure that she will agree that Daniel is perfectly respectable otherwise. In fact, marrying somebody formerly called Daniel Thomas Marchese Robinson, now Daniel Thomas Marchese Fry, is suitably posh. So thanks also go to Elise for making our comedy scroll, creating a magical cocktail menu for our Harry Potter themed hen do, and for generally being fab and super organised, and I know Sophie really appreciated that as well. Thanks also then finally to my maid of honour, Sophie, and my little baby sister. I know that she was very nervous about the big responsibility of being a maid of honour, and she needed to have been because she's risen to the challenge wonderfully. She's given me top tips for my gym and skincare routine, and she did my makeup today. So full credit to her because I do look fabulous. Alongside Elise, Soph gave me a fantastic hen do and put so much thought into it, typical Ravenclaw, and it really paid off. We had Harry Potter, we had fun outdoorsy activities that Daniel would have hated, so I'm really, really pleased that we squeezed in all the fun things that I like that Daniel is just not into. So painting ceramics, climbing trees, he doesn't do any of that, he likes books. And a drag show, which Daniel definitely does love, right? As we all know. Where am I? Yes, right. Sophie does not speak in public. So when we were discussing who was going to do a reading at the wedding, Sophie said, and I quote, "Please tell me you haven't put me down for one." And I was like, no, it's Mum's going to do one. She went, oh, thank fuck for that. So Sophie's definitely not doing a speech. But that's probably a good thing, because she's got lots of ammunition, having known me all of my life. But if you ask her nicely, I'm sure she could tell you a story or two. So cheers to our best men and best women.
Just a couple more quick rounds of thanks. Thanks, obviously, Craig's already mentioned it, but thanks so much to Billy, who's done an absolutely upstanding job today. The minute we suggested to Billy that being some kind of wedding MC to Billy, I think he really took it upon himself to make the character his own. He pictured the tricorn hat, the coat, the bell, the gloves. They were totally his idea, but he just went with it. He's been a fantastic friend to both of us, and we want to thank him today for how brilliant he's been as our Master of the Revels, which is our title. So thanks again to Billy. Quick thank you to one of my closest friends, Dr. Daniel Kennedy, for adding some dignity and gravitas to an otherwise whimsical proceedings today with his reading of Plato during the ceremony. Although all the pretense at academic esteem will be out of the window later once he's had a few more drinks and he's on the dance floor, he's a fucking animal, I'll tell you that. So get ready for that. Buy him a drink.
Thanks so much also to Sophie's partner Dan, who's lending his services as a superstar DJ, you will find out, this evening, and has been brilliant in arranging all the technicalities such as, I'm reading this carefully, scrimmed tables and XLR leads in advance, like, whatever they are. I'm sure that they're important. Tech guys don't. This weekend, as well as Jane's birthday, we've also hijacked Dan's 30th, which was on Thursday. So if anyone wants to buy Dan a drink, he is the one with the lovely beard. Just saying. So cheers to Dan as well. toast to those that couldn't be here today. I know, oh, have we? Oh, crap, I have. Soz, lol. I can't read. Oh, there she is. Babes. We'd also like to have a last mention to Charlotte, who, in exchange for some advice on her mad plan to enter into the teaching profession, again, why? But welcome, teach first. So, in exchange for some tips from us, because we're experts apparently, Charlotte designed and had printed our beautiful RSC invitations, which I think went down an absolute storm. And so many of you have been complimenting us on, and Charlotte should take all the credit. So, thank you to Charlotte. So, as Dad mentioned, we'd also like to raise a toast to the people that couldn't be here today. Several close friends and family who, for various reasons, were unable to make it to Stratford, who we missed today. And we'd also like you to drink to the family that is no longer with us.
Firstly, my grandparents, Stella and Lawrence, John and Kay, sadly never got to meet this wonderful woman, who's now my wife. They'd all have bloody loved her, like I do.
Secondly, to my two granddads, Dave and Stanley. In particular, Stanley, who I never met, but who I think I would have got on with Daniel really well, and would have particularly enjoyed Daniel's record collection and his flair in the kitchen. And some of you who may know us well might recognise a couple of these names living on in the shape of our feline housemates, Stanley and Stella, who are actually present on Daniel's socks as a wedding present to me. Their actual faces are on the socks. So they got to, people said, like, are they going to be ring bearers? Have you tried getting a cat? We haven't, but trust me. So we got them on socks, it's close enough. So these two lovely kittens came along after the loss of another absent friend, our rabbit Oscar, who Daniel very lovingly adopted, and I think that was one of the things that really showed me how lovely Daniel is when, like, he took Oscar under his wing and became his adopted daddy and looked after Oscar and was very, very caring about him, and was very sad when Oscar died, and I was like, you know what, Daniel's a lovely, lovely man. So I think everybody who knew Oscar knew he was an excellent rabbit, and he was particularly popular with drunk people at parties.
I've got one final toast just to make to an absent friend. I'd like to raise a final toast to my uncle Simon. So my dad's littlest brother. A man who, for me, introduced me to both Stingray and an obsession with the Smiths. And we lost Simon too soon a few years ago, so just a final toast to absent friends.
We're going as fast as we can. I did warn you, have you seen the scroll? So, you may have noticed a decorative theme today and this evening, and we hope you've particularly enjoyed the decorations, as they took a lot of work.
And drinking.
Yeah, mostly that. Drinking fairly copious amounts of wine, quite consistently for the best part of 2 years, and before, but also for the decorations. When we had the idea of reusing wine bottles and corks and other wine paraphernalia, it's very zero waste. We're so ahead of the curve, so very green.
You're welcome, everyone.
Yeah, welcome. We probably didn't realise quite how much wine we were going to use and need in order to get the amount of corks and bottles that we did. So thanks particularly go to Mum and Dad for really helping us increase our collection. Cheers. Yes, so, and also thanks very much to Katie Marshall, who invited us and Billy and Matt to a particularly classy evening of wine tasting at a swanky hotel in Birmingham's Mailbox, where we, by the end, basically went mental and like really mind-swept the whole place and gathered a pretty ludicrous amount of corks and a really nice bottle of port I think we still have. So you should come around after and have it. And then we went for an all-you-can-eat Chinese, because we did. So in and amongst the wine bottles, you have seen around you, you will find.
So we've got corks from bottles from weddings in some beautiful locations. We've got bottles and corks from Nicky and Mark's wedding in Croatia last year. some bottles from Paul and Gabby's wedding in Canada last year, even the exotic Isle of Sheppey, Andy and Sinead. We've also had so many wines we've drunk on boozy nights with our beloved friends in Birmingham, Northampton, Tavistock, Plymouth, Newcastle, Manchester, Edinburgh, London, Toronto, New York, many more.
Do you like to travel?
Do like to travel, yes. And somewhere here, actually this is fun, and this is a little game for later, somewhere here there's even the bottle of wine that I took round to Emma's flat the first time she ever cooked dinner for me on one of our early dates. So it's one of our earliest dates. See if you can find it later on. So that's fun.
Yeah. So, to paraphrase, that's me. Paraphrase the wisdom of Homer Simpson. To wine, the cause of and solution to all of life's problems.
So it's my final bit now. So I'm going to just say a bit about Emma first. I mean, I just love her. I have really racked my brains about trying to think of exactly the right words for what I'd like to say right now, as I'm sure Emma has. Some of you might have been expecting me to pull out a guitar at this point and give you a song. So I haven't done that today. I'm sorry to say. Seriously, I haven't. I promise you, baby, the song is coming one day, but I really struggle to put into words, and about the 4 or 5 chords that I can play on the guitar, exactly how I feel about you. All I will say is, Emma is a Taurus. So, a Taurus is a grounded, homely person who values sanctuary and stability. Although she's a globe-trotting adventurer who's travelled far and wide, she loves coming home to those home comforts. And to me, Emma feels like home. She gives me comfort, security, and warmth, and stability, and above all, love. True story now. When I was 25 years old, just about a month before Emma and I first got together, I had a birthday do at a pub called The Church in the Drury Quarter. Some people here tonight were there. Emma at that time was a colleague of mine and a friend, and she came to the party armed only with a few slices of her homemade coffee and walnut cake, Nigel Slater's recipe. After tasting that cake, and admittedly after quite a few beers and whatever as well, I declared to anyone who was listening that evening that on the strength of that cake, I was going to marry this woman. It helped that she was bloody hot and I was horny. And I honestly cannot believe how lucky I am that girl is now my wife. So please can you raise a glass to my beautiful wife, Emma? To Emma!
In case you're interested, you can try that exact cake, because the same recipe has been used for one of the layers of the cake that my mummy has made. Double layer, so check it out later. Right, so I decided, like an idiot, to write a pencil, so I can't actually read, because I was like, oh, what if I make a mistake?
Again.
I feel like I've written too much. No, it's just I need the light better, so let's just check this out. I might just, add lib. Whoa! Hello. Right. There we go. Context. We had quite a few drinks last night at the bar, I can't remember. And then I was like, right, I've got to go upstairs and prep myself. So I had a nice bath, did my hair, and shaved my legs, been all sexy. And then I was like, right, 2 a.m, let's write the speech. So I haven't reread it since. I probably will do at some point, that's okay. Okay, right, I've read that bullet point, that's okay. Alright, yeah, summarise. Okay. Right, cool, okay, yeah, fine. No, it's do you know what, Mum? I'll improvise. Whatever. So basically, I remember the very first time I ever saw Daniel. we were walking down the road in the jewellery quarter, and he was walking, and we were walking along. Danny was walking along with Ezra, and they were carrying a big crate of reduced beer. Because not only is he romantic, obviously, but he's very thrifty, which is what I love about him. One of the many things. And I was like, oh, he seems nice, and then carried on my merry way after being introduced, thinking nothing more of it. Because obviously I was about to start a new school, new start, and I was thinking to myself, do you know what, it would be excellent to really like cement my career in this place and really focus on all the worky things and not think about anything else. And my one rule is to not get off with any colleagues. And here I am. So, do you know what? It took... 9 months. I stuck to that rule before the Prosecco, etc. happened. But do you know what? I'm so genuinely privileged, and I'm happy to have found Daniel, and he is just basically my ideal man. And just after we'd got together, I called home and was talking about this young man that I'd met, and my sister asked 3 key questions to see if he was a valid suitor. Number 1, is he intelligent? And I was like, yes, of course, yeah, he's very intelligent, yeah. It's fine. And then number 2, is he musical? And I was like, yes, although apparently not tonight, whatever. So, is he musical? Yes. I was like, he sings and he plays the guitar. And the 3rd one, does he like cats? And I was like, I think so. He's never had any cat pets before, but I'm sure that he's had a hamster called Quickie. Take it from that what you will. And a stick insect called Sticky. So I'm sure that I don't know what our children's will be called one day, but I'm sure they'll end in Icky. So lovely babes. But yeah, so like, I just think Daniel for me is more than just like a tick box exercise of things that are like my right kind of person, because I didn't even know what my right kind of person was until I met Daniel, and then there he was, and I was just like, I didn't know there could be a person quite so perfect for me until I met Daniel. I just think he's generous and he's... It's fine. It's past now. He's generous, he's kind, he's good-natured, he's friendly, he's talkative, but he's a really, really good listener. And if you talk to him, he really... He just really takes in what you're saying, and I think that's so rare to find in somebody that talks. People say you're either a talker or a listener, and I think Daniel is a really lovely balance of both, and that's exactly what you need in a person. And he's so supportive. He spent the last week, when I was basically not trying to eat anything, because I've got a nice dress to get into, eating all the food that I don't like. So that I wouldn't get tempted. I was like, Daniel, let's go up to Sainsbury's. You can treat yourself to all the things that I don't like. You can have mushroom, blue cheese, mackerel, and he literally had mushrooms. He literally bought mushrooms and blue cheese and mackerel and all the kind of things that I don't like, and just basically had his lovely meals all week, which probably wouldn't...
hard for me.
But he would have had stuff that we both like, but on purpose he had all the stuff that I don't like, so that he would allow me to just have a banana and deal with it. But it's fine, because we're married now, so I get to eat all the cheese. And it's fine, because they said today that it's binding. So I can just have all the cheese I want. I'm done now, basically. Basically, just wanted to finish with with some last top tips for any wedding-related things. If anyone's getting married anytime soon. 1, be really careful with molten stuff like wax seals or glue guns, because you will get covered in burns and then have a photo of your nice hand with your rings on covered in burns. So, with caution. And just don't, like, just one of the best things about getting married now is I can unfollow all the crap things on Instagram, like cheap wedding stuff. That is genuinely a page telling me where I can buy random hoops and fake ivy, which I don't need because I'm zero waste, and so I drink all my decorations. It's fine. And they're not cheap. But you know what greater pleasure than drinking and knowing that it will go into this lovely group of people, having a lovely time, and all for the fact that I love Daniel and he loves me, and that is freaking awesome. So,
Wow, let's just raise another toast to the happy couple, because that was amazing. To Emma and Daniel. Okay, you've got a big act to follow, but best man, do you want to come and join me up here? I'm not meant to say your name. Everyone hopefully knows who you are, but we're going to announce that very soon. So let's give a warm round of applause for the best man.
Okay. Hi, can I have the attention of the room for 1 second? Hi, my name is Richard, or Ricky, and I'm Daniel's older brother, for those of you that don't know. And also the answer to the question, who inherited their dad's good looks? And as Daniel's older brother, he was, of course, by tradition and legal diktat, obliged to ask me to deliver the best man speech. Against his better judgment. But I do feel the need to start my speech with a disclaimer. So this was originally going to be a much longer, epic, Daniel and Emma length talk. However, thanks to the cease and desist notice I received from Daniel's lawyers, it's had to be heavily redacted. As we all know, Daniel is someone who likes getting his own way. Thankfully, Emma is finally putting a stop to his nonsense. Indeed, to quote our mum from the first time Emma met our parents, Daniel has finally met his match. You know, before Daniel met Emma, he could be pretty well. Frankly, he was out of control. Age 4, he single-handedly consumed 2 whole chocolate advent calendars on the 1st of December, thus making sure that for the rest of my childhood, I never got a chocolate advent calendar, and things only escalated from there. After performing the role of Pharaoh / Elvis in Woodford Junior School's rendition of Joseph and his amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, he went power mad. As a 6th former, he turned up at home, blind drunk and vomiting, in the early hours of the morning, dressed as the lead character from A Clockwork Orange. Now my droogs. Did he kill anyone that night? As we told the police, we shall just never know. In keeping with his growing sense of self-worth, he went on to perform and write a song for student radio at the University of Birmingham with Mr. Daniel Pitt. Woo! a song modestly titled Christmas #1 this year. He then went on to co-direct again with the aforementioned Pitt a performance of Ophelia Drowning at the Edinburgh Fringe, which was featured in not one but 2 national newspapers. Yeah, but the Daily Star doesn't count, does it? And this only served to inflate his ego further. In fact, some people have accused him of being a drama queen. No. This was an allegation that he robustly rejected on his stag do in Edinburgh, whilst dressed as William Shakespeare. After partying away into the small hours of the morning in an Edinburgh nightclub to the music of Daniel's favourite band, I refer, of course, to the Spice Girls. Some of us were tired and just wanted to go to bed. But this was a suggestion at which Daniel balked, and he delivered a rousing rallying cry. Once more into the breach, dear friends! Once more into the breach! We few, we happy few, we band of brothers! And gentlemen in England, still abed, shall think themselves accursed they were not here! Of course, nothing says, I'm not a drama queen, like getting married at the RSC. This was also the man who once, from a hen do, stole a giant, pink, bulbous, inflatable teddy bear. And then refused to give it back, even when threatened with a headbutt. It speaks to Daniel's innate, unshakable optimism, that when faced with such a threat, he insisted that, now come on, I know you're trying to look tough in front of your mates, but you and I both know you're not actually going to headbutt me. And then it happened. But I will say this. He gets knocked down, but he gets up again. And you're never going to keep him down. Indeed, when Emma was recently asked to name Daniel's most endearing quality, she said, indeed, that he was his unshakable sense of optimism and the way in which he makes everyone feel good about themselves. When further asked to name his most annoying characteristic, she thought long and hard, and it speaks to how madly in love with him she must be, that the only thing she could come up with was, oh, he has this annoying habit of biting his fingernails sometimes. Emma, that's lovely, but I asked some of the people in this very room for a more objective view of your husband. And it turns out that Daniel has a great many other faults, which this part has been redacted for legal reasons. If you think that they spent a lot on this wedding, you should see the amount they spent on the lawyers. So, I was forbidden from rapping in the speech, but I will, however, as much as I am a dope lover, as much as I am a dope rapper, I love my brother and my sister. And so the only rapping I will be performing here will be to wrap up and to say that So, in conclusion, Daniel isn't perfect. But, nonetheless, Daniel and Emma are perfect for each other. Whether that's because of their shared love of independent Birmingham, University Challenge, the National Trust, home cooking, restaurants, Prosecco, or kittens. Or maybe it's simply because of their shared values, their shared passion for helping the next generation achieve their full potential, or their great personal chemistry. I don't know. Regardless, I am absolutely delighted that these two managed to find each other. And I would like to offer a heartfelt thanks to Sidewalk Club on Her Street in Birmingham and Birmingham Ormiston Academy for bringing these two together. When I imagine everything that these two have ahead of them, I see a future filled with not only success, but joy and love. And I couldn't be prouder to be their brother. So, I'd finally like to thank you all for coming to share this very special day. And finally ask you to raise a glass once more to Daniel and Emma Marchese Fry.